Welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast, brought to you by TournamentPokerEdge.com, the only podcast dedicated exclusively to tournament poker strategy. And now, here are your hosts, Ron Fezbuddy and Killingbird.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. Killingbird with you, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Ron Fezbuddy.
Yo.
How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing great. Just I'm anxious to get on the road. We leave in, 2 days for Atlantic City?
Woohoo! Ready to go.
Heading up for the Borgata Poker Open,
Yep.
So should be a lot of fun. I know a bunch of TPE folks are coming up.
Yeah, when's everyone showing up? Wednesday night?
It sounds like a good number of people are showing up. Well, I guess the event actually starts tomorrow, right? The 4th, which might be today.
No, I think it starts Wednesday. I think day one is Wednesday. Day 1A.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah, and I think some people are actually playing day 1A.
Right.
But I think you and I are getting a little later on Wednesday, so we won't play day 1A, but we will be there on the day of day 1A.
I think we're going to meet up for beers and dinner and stuff.
Yep, yeah, there's a thread on the forum, so if you're a member and you want to, or I guess if you're not a member, you can come hang out too. Just look for us. We'll be at the B Bar, which I don't recall what that's like, but I'm looking forward to finding out. But yeah, so it sounds like there's a good group of people coming up, and I think a lot of people are coming in for that first event because it's huge. It's a $1 million guarantee, 2-day re-entry, so I think it's going to be a massive field, huge prize.
It's going to be a massive field. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And the Borgata always runs such good events that I think it's just going to be a really good time. And then I think we're both staying and playing event. I guess it's event 3, which is a bounty, like a $500 bounty tournament.
I'm playing event 1. Are you playing event 1?
Yes.
Okay. So we're playing event 1. I'm playing event 3. You're playing event 3, right? It's the bounty. Yep. It's a 350, 150, right? It's a 300. It's a bounty, so it's 300 into the main prize pool, 100 for the bounties, and 50 for the rake, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, I'm playing that, and then I think you're leaving on Saturday, right? Unless you make the day 2 and you stay late for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. My departure date is kind of up in the air. I'm just gonna base it on obviously playing that knockout on Friday. I mean, if I bust out at 1:00, I might just hit the road.
You don't. Yeah, when you bust out. Yeah, you just want to leave.
Yeah, but I'm going to try really hard not to bust out an hour into the tournament. So chances are I'll be leaving Saturday or Sunday. So just kind of depending on how things go in that event.
Yeah, I'm staying for the Saturday because it's actually they actually did a really good job with this one. The Saturday is a 1-day tournament, so if you got to get home and you don't want to, you've been got family, job, all that stuff. So getting in on Wednesday night, I could still play that Saturday tournament and bust, bail if I bust. On Saturday, I don't have to stick around for another 2-day tournament, so it's nice to have that. Just sort of get out of there if you want. But that's the sort of standard Saturday tournament that the Borgata does. It's a $100K guarantee, 300, and is it 400? I think $400 tournament. Yeah, 350 plus 50, I think is what it is. But it's a great tournament. Even though it's a 1-day, and being that the series is running, I'm sure they're going to smash the $100K guarantee.
Right.
So it should be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's still a chance I'll hang around for that. Like I said, just going to kind of depend on what happens on Friday. But I'm sure that would be good. And it's kind of, like you said, it is good for people who have jobs and families and all that stuff. And I think tournament directors and casinos are getting better about making their tournaments friendly for those kind of people.
Right.
So it's nice to see Borgata doing that. Yep. I think it's really smart. And like you said, they will almost certainly crush that guarantee. Yep. So.
And I will be bringing you Coney Island Lager. I've been promising it for a while.
Nice. Very much looking forward to that.
I still have to go pick it up. So if they're sold out, there's a chance it's sold out. Then
whoa. I don't want to hear any excuses. You've been promising me this amazing beer.
I will bring you something else. They opened up a craft beer store in my neighborhood, and they have a lot of awesome stuff, and I think I don't know, when did I talk about this on the podcast, or did we talk about this in person? I don't remember. But
I don't remember either. But I think it was just we were just chatting one night while playing.
Okay. So basically, as most people who listen know, Derek has a strong affinity for the brew, and we actually play a game on Twitter. What is Derek drinking? Because he's always got some interesting beer. And even though I participate in sort of the joking around, I like my craft brews too. So there's this. I went to this. They opened this craft beer store, and I went to it, and I was like, just, I like lagers, and the guy was like, oh, you got to get the Coney Island lager, and it was the best beer I've ever had by far.
Wow.
So I'm gonna go pick it up. Now let me ask you a question.
Yes.
They don't have it refrigerated. It's it's out, right? I should not refrigerate it and bring it to you, right? Because refrigerating it and then getting warm again is bad for the beer.
Yeah, like in most cases, it's not going to make a huge difference, but you do want to avoid drastic temperature changes. So, like if you were to cool it off and then drive it to Atlantic City, it probably wouldn't matter.
Okay. But there's no reason then if there's no reason to cool it off then, right? It's just sometimes warm and then
you might as well because it's going to get warm by the time you get down there anyway.
All right, cool.
Yep.
Little side detour, but I like this one.
Cool. I can't wait. I'll actually I'm driving up too, so maybe I'll bring something. It'll be like a little potluck.
There you go.
A beer potluck.
Very good. I look forward to it.
I like it.
Good,
cool.
Good.
All right. Well, I'm excited because for the first time we're going to have HurricaneJeff Romano on the podcast tonight. He's going to come in and talk some hands with us. He's going to join TPE Pro Mark Aliotto. So looking forward to getting those guys in here. We got some cool hands where we took hands from that members suggested for the podcast or recommended of other members, their hands. So I'm looking forward to doing that with those guys. So I think we should just go ahead and take a break and then come back and get those guys in here.
Yep, sounds good.
Cool. All right, we'll be right back then on the TPE podcast.
Hey MTTers, this is Casey Big Dog Pocket Fives Jarzovic from TournamentPokerEdge.com. If you've been looking for a trading site dedicated exclusively to tournament poker, then look no further. Tournament Poker Edge is only $23.95 per month with no initial sign-up fee, and we post a new training video every weekday. You'll also find poker-related articles, blogs, and very active strategy forums. We even offer you the ability to upload your own video for others to discuss. So head on over to TournamentPokerEdge.com and find out why it's quickly becoming the destination for tournament poker players looking to take their game to the next level. TournamentPokerEdge.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. Time to bring in the pros for today's strategy discussion. First want to welcome old school TPEer, Mark Aliotto. How you doing, sir?
Love old school.
Old school.
I love it. I'm doing good.
I was going to say just old, but then I shifted.
I do understand. Happy to be here.
Also, cool. Also want to welcome for the first time, somewhat new to the TP family, and also a hell of a beer pong player, HurricaneJeff. What's up, man?
Not much, doing good. I like the shout out about beer pong. I think I went like 12-1 in Vegas this summer. I don't even know.
Who was your teammate?
I think you were, Mark.
Damn straight.
Yeah, you should have just grinded beer pong also.
You know, I would have made more money. Not a bad strategy.
Too funny. Well, cool. Very happy to have you on. You've obviously been making videos for a little while. We've been wanting to get you on the podcast, so thanks for stepping in.
No problem.
Yeah, and
Before we get into,
I got to say also, Jeff, 23 comments on your first video. A lot of a lot of people wanting to talk to you about that video. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I love the comments. Keep them coming.
Yeah. Pretty good. Over 9 on average for all of them.
And the record.
The record.
Big dog.
Yeah, Big Dog crushes it consistently in like the top 9.7s or so, and Daryl Jace can on his good videos he gets not high 9s too, but 9s are those are really high scores. So nice job, man.
Oh, thank you. I like it.
Yeah. Before we jump into the strategy stuff, since it is your first podcast, maybe we should talk a little bit about you and your history and all that good stuff. So maybe talk a little bit about how you got into poker and what you were doing before Black Friday and now what you're doing now.
It's pretty standard for getting into poker. I went to UMass Amherst for college, and I actually had a pretty good crew there. There were 5 or 6 guys who were playing online poker regularly and obviously skipping all their classes and actually crushing. A few of them got up to 5K no limit cash games. So I learned a little bit from them, and I pretty much degened a ton and lost all my money I made live. I put it all online, lost it all, and then eventually got a little bit better, kept getting better. graduated school. I had some like 10K scores before then, but graduated school. Not really many jobs to get into, so I just stuck with poker, and here I am today. I guess that's
Nice.
Yeah, man. For a lot of the people who played poker in school and then left and wanted to get a 9-to-5 job, they actually didn't have the opportunity in the last couple of years. It's been such a shitty market for you guys, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's like right now, even having a degree is like not that much, but to not even have a degree, it's. I mean, I can only imagine it's impossible to get a job unless you know people. I mean, if you know people, you're all set no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. So when did you say you graduated?
2008. I was supposed to graduate. I liked college so much I stayed an extra semester.
Nice.
Yeah. At least that's what I tell my parents.
And back then, pre-Black Friday, what kind of stakes were you playing on the PokerStars and Full Tilt sites?
Well, I mean, I think this is like how it went for most people is I would like deposit $50, run it up to like 2K, and then just sit 100, 200 limit and just lose it all in 5 seconds. And I rinsed and repeated that for like maybe 20 times. I don't even know. And somehow managed to cash out like $500 every now and then to pay for beer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's similar to my story too. I was the same thing. Deposit, run it up, lose it all. Same story every week.
Sports betting or high stakes poker.
So then how did you turn that into consistent income and more of a pro?
I guess like my senior year of college, I was on Cake, and Cake was actually like a gold mine back in the day. A lot of big pros got their start on Cake just because it was all sports bettors who like they put a bet in for Monday Night Football and they just couldn't wait to the action, so they would hop on.
Sportsfoot.com was Play Aces, which was on the Cake Network.
Yeah, it was for a while. It separated after I don't know how long, a couple of years, but it was on there for a while. And man, the guys were like they were just donating money, which was awesome. But so I eventually just started playing a ton of tables for Rakeback because I mean that was like the most consistent way to do it, and I was still profiting. But like when you grind for Rakeback, it makes you want to degen less, just because it's like. Right. You have like an hourly rate, and you just don't want to, piss it all away.
Right.
And then switch to MTTs. The like 20 rebuys, 30 rebuys on there. The like nightly 109s were just so easy and pretty consistent. Like there's low variance because the fields weren't like PokerStars where you got 1,000 people and they're just like 100 to 200 people. So I don't know. It's just easy to build.
Nice. Maybe that's why you've been so successful playing on Lock and smaller sites post Black Friday, because you were used to those smaller fields before Black Friday.
Yeah, I mean it's nice. You don't tilt as much when you're not going to have like a huge downswing. I mean I had a pretty big downswing after I got back from Vegas. From like the time I left to Vegas to got back, I went on like a 30K downswing. But I mean that's like really rare and the biggest I've ever seen. Usually my biggest downswing is $4,000 on these sites.
Yeah,
and that's playing pretty high buy-ins too.
Yeah, and that's for high buy-ins. That's ridiculous because I think on Stars and Full Tilt pre-Black Friday, someone playing say $50 average buy-in, I think 30K was a pretty easy downswing to hit.
Yeah,
probably, what 50, 60K is probably normal.
Yeah,
think about that too. Is with those huge downswings, like you almost need a backer if you don't have a big roll. And then like if you have a backer, your hourly rate is going to be way less, or just your total profit is going to be cut in half. So I mean that's probably why a ton of pros got started on Cake, is just because there's the low variance.
Right. And I think your reward, the softer fields and the low variance is your reward for putting up with that software that it used to have, the way it used to be. That's your reward. It was. I couldn't. I have an account. I had an account on Cake, and I try to mix it in back in the day, but I don't know, I couldn't take it. I just hated the software. So I gave up, and I guess that's the discipline that you had.
I don't blame you.
Well, one thing that nobody knows, too, is that, or nobody really knows, I don't think, is that Jeff was either the first or one of the first Lock pros, and that was through Cake, right, Jeff? Like, how did that work?
That was like the first Lock sign-up. I just went on the site I went on SharkScope looking for like sites that were on the Cake. You know how like if you're searching, you can search like all the different skins on the actual network.
Yeah.
And I was literally scrolling down the list looking for a site that would give me Rakeback, and I emailed Lock, and they promised me this super high Rakeback, so I took it, and then I didn't get it, but I don't know, I just stuck with it. I think it was like 2 days after they opened or something.
So
Wow.
what would you say has changed in those? I mean, obviously, Black Friday is a seismic shift across the entire online poker landscape. But for someone like you, who was pretty consistent, regular on these smaller sites to begin with, how has your world changed since Black Friday?
It hasn't changed a ton. I mean, it's like it's a little bit more frustrating because you're not going to get the random players in that you're going to be able to take advantage of more. So now it's more like you have to find the regs that you can exploit, and you just really have to play against them because you're playing against the same people, the same like 20 people every single tournament. Like I know it's like Mark and I grind pretty much the same schedule. And what do we have, like 30-man tourneys in the $100 buy-ins?
Yeah, with like 15 regs.
Yeah, so if you just put in like a little bit of time and study those guys, like it helps out a ton. But that's like the main difference is just I think it's actually made me better just because I have to beat better players on average more,
right?
Which is a good thing in the long run.
Right. Right.
And then Sundays feel like a breeze. I mean, you get to Sunday and like the play is just god awful, and you're like, oh my god, this is heaven. Yeah. I mean, obviously, way bigger fields, but there's just so many good spots. Whereas, like literally, we're grinding with some of the best guys on Stars, best U.S. players on Stars.
Right. Yeah, because they're mixing it in now. Now the prize pools are big enough for them to. To them, it's just probably like another tournament, a 100K tournament or something. But it's finally big enough for them to mix it into their schedule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Jeff and I used to play, like, a year ago, we were both just going for rake, and we played literally, like, we were going at each other every day. It was really annoying because, like, you have one or two regs in a 9-man sit-and-go, 6-man sit-and-go.
I think
your ROI just goes down.
Yeah. I had, like, 80,000 hands with you, I think.
Ugh.
Wow.
You were so annoying, Jeff, before I actually met you, and, like,
I thought you were Asian.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not Asian?
Yeah. Right.
It's funny you mention that because I when you first came to do videos for TPE, I recognized your name from having played a lot of MTTs with you, and I was like, yeah, that guy gives me fits, so let's get him. But I after you started making videos, I've had so many people like tweet at us or send us messages on Facebook, whatever, saying, "Can you have Jeff do a sit and go video?" And I was just like, that's a weird request, but I guess it makes sense that if you were grinding that many sit and goes.
You know what? The tournaments on Lock Poker right now are pretty much sit and goes as it is. Like the daily tournaments are like 40.
Yeah.
So it's really not that much difference. Just like a deep stack sit and go.
Right.
Jeff was ranked on Scope in a lot of the 6-mans and Dons. Jeff's really good at
on Merge though. I don't. Yeah, the Dons on Merge. I think there were only like 3 people that were ranked on those. There's you, me, and like someone else. Some other grinder. I don't even know who.
And so if you were to describe your game to someone, how would you describe yourself? Aggressive?
Oh, super aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I was leading you to that. So tell us why people say that about you.
I don't know. I just like putting people in weird spots. Like, so in a few of these hands we'll discuss later too, like the way I'll approach it is way different than most people just because pretty much like I'll c-bet 100% of flops. So like when I hit, the absolute nuts and there's even no draw on the board, like I'll just bomb it just because I feel like it's hard for people to put you on a hand when you just bet every single hand all the time.
Right.
And when you take that approach, it's like you really have to hone in onto your bet sizing, and that's what's going to really make you a lot of money. I mean, I feel like that's how the battler wins is like he just really has his bet sizing down where like every time I'm in a hand with that guy and he's like potting into me, I'm like, what the hell does this guy have? And every time I fold, he shows me 6 high, and every time I call, he's got like, flush or something. It's like it's the most frustrating thing ever.
You actually have not like, I won't say similar to battler because you're not going to flat those absurd hands, but you definitely play different than everyone else, and I think I struggle playing with you as well. Like you'll defend weaker holdings out of position and stuff, and you kind of own post flop. I mean, I'll give you some credit.
I think I've been talking about this with people. I think nowadays, like before, there were the standards where you could there were so many random players on sites that if you had 20 big blinds, you could just ship king queen in pre flop or something, and like that's a profitable play. But now, like I think the game's changed a bit where players know like standard shipping ranges and standard calling ranges, and you just have to like I don't know, and they don't understand post flop as well.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
Your edges are coming from post flop now, not necessarily pre flop, because everyone knows those ranges.
100% agree.
You'll get a guy like the Battlers.
You love the Battler, Mike.
He's like crazy.
He's just a pain in your ass.
But you look at his graph, and he never has a downswing, and I've wondered why. And I was starting to think like it's because he plays so many hands that like the variance in his style of play is low because he sees like 1,000 hands. So like, I mean, I don't know if this makes sense, but he plays so many hands where he's able to like his edge is able to pan out over those 1,000 hands and play a tournament or something.
Oh, because he sees way more flops. He's not going to reship 20 bigs with King Queen. He's going to flat.
Yeah.
And he crushes. Like he'll flat like Queen 9 in position with like 12 bigs, like, and just own you, and you'll be like, damn.
It's like the top range.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I I've seen threads about the Battler on 2+2, and just like who is just outright calling him an idiot and but you could tell who the better thinking players are the ones who don't who want to learn from what he does, because the better players know there's no one way to play, right? He's doing something, right? And that's, if you have that natural curiosity to try to figure out what he's doing, I guarantee you the person who has that curiosity is better than the one who thinks that the other guy is just an idiot.
Thinking he's an idiot is just, that person is the idiot.
Right.
Like, because if you look at his graph, it is the most amazing thing.
Right. I think
the guy is great.
I met him once. I was in a World Series event with him, and we were chatting up 2 years ago, and I think he's actually crazy.
It's funny. He certainly plays like it.
Yeah, he does. He's a nut.
Yeah.
Funny.
But yeah, similar to that, back to your game, you playing more post flop and putting people in interesting situations. I think there's a whole just undiscovered world that there's still edges to be gained in poker.
Oh, for sure.
You put that work in, and you have those discussions.
It's like a lot of times when, I don't know, if tournament player, I'm like, I may be the only tournament player who goes and just absolutely dusts in cash games. But like, I'll go to cash games and they'll just destroy me post flop, and I'm like, why am I losing so much in cash games? And I think it's just because the average tournament player doesn't understand how to play post flop. I mean, the average, not like the great tournament players obviously do, but.
And cash game players really excel playing tournaments because usually you're really deep, especially live tournaments. Cash grinders crush. They
crush in the early stages, and then when it gets like to short stack mode, they don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing we're shifting a little bit from deeper stacked post flop early stage. When you get to the later stages, though, what about how you because I've heard this about you too, putting people in weird spots in terms of stack size, not necessarily on the turn of the river with bet sizing, but just sort of 3-betting people or 4-betting people based on stack sizes. Is that a big part of your game, or is that?
Yeah, I just think between like a 20 and 30 big blind stack, no matter what your hand is, it's going to be hard to play. I mean, unless you have aces and kings, but whatever. Like if you have a hand like ace king and the flop comes queen high jack high, like you have 25 bigs, it's just hard to play post flop, or even any low pair, any mid pair. If it's like 2 overs, where like you're faced to either, it's just a stack size where you're faced to either get it in or fold. Right. And so when people are put in that spot, you can bet small, and they're going to be able to get it in against you, and you'll just be able to fold and lose a small pot, or they'll fold and you'll win a small pot. I just think it's like a 20 to 30 big blind stack is just plays so easy against.
Right.
What about your new strategy? You've been telling me about the min 3-bet.
Yeah, I love it. Some players, like regs, will just freak out and they'll just get it up. They'll just shove pre-flop with so many hands, like hands you would never expect them to show up with. And then the average fish, like the random Sunday player, is going to call and just fold every single time post-flop. Yeah. It's amazing how many times they do that. They just call fold every single time.
I mean, we've talked to Danny N13 too about it's different, but just min betting the river, like full range, like with whatever, and you'll see people fold like getting 50 to 1, and they just fold. It's like the funniest thing ever. And he's like, I had 5 high.
That's definitely one of those plays that people would be like, what is this idiot doing? But, he's obviously has, like, a really good strategy behind it. And I like it, too, It's like a mini blocker bet.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get people to tool out when you actually have a hand and you lead min into them. They'll just tool out with, like, a misdraw, and you just call, and you're like, wow, thank you. Because
It's so funny.
Weak. It looks weak.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up that min 3 bet because I guess it was maybe a week or two ago we were grinding and talking online, and I don't know if you remember this, but I was in one last tournament. I'm like, I'm over this tournament, so I'm just going to min 3 bet every hand. This was before we talked about this. And then I was like, shit, I was over this tournament. I wanted to go, but now I have all the chips because I just kept winning every pot.
Just min 3 bet and barrel away, and everything folds.
Yeah, and they just kept folding, and next thing I knew I had all the chips.
I like it.
Well, it looks strong, like you said, to the regs, and then to fist, they're going to flatten, and they're just going to check fold, like, every time it happens. Yeah. So I haven't experimented with it, but he's saying it works. KB's proof.
Now, 2 weeks after this podcast is released, everybody on lock will be min 3 betting.
We'll see who listens to
then you just min 4 bet.
Yeah.
That's why we brought it up, because we're talking about the min 4 bet now.
Taking it to the next level.
Yeah, actually, speaking of 2 weeks from this podcast, I think, Jeff, your next series comes up next week. So,
I won a tournament in it, too.
Nice.
Live sweat.
It's a live MTT sweat, right?
Yeah. All different stakes, right?
Yeah, all the way from like a $4 rebuy to I don't know if the 215 was in there, but the 162 definitely was on lock.
Nice.
That's awesome. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
See us play up close and personal in just a week.
Yeah. Before we do need to get into strategy, but before we do that, we should really quickly talk about your summer in Vegas because we got to hang out quite a bit, and you had a great run in a World Series event out there this summer. How did the whole summer go for you?
The summer had its ups and downs for sure. I mean, Vegas is so easy to burn out in, like, so fast. But I think what was good was I started out hot, and then I got really cold. But then in the middle of it, I picked up a little bit. I went deep in the World Series of Poker with a $1,000 buy-in. I forget which one. I came 18th in it for $17,000, where I really got pretty unlucky towards the very end. But it was an awesome experience. Honestly, I didn't really enjoy playing poker that much for a while, and like getting deep in a World Series event made me love poker more than anything else in the world. It's the most exciting thing when you get deep, when you make a deep run in such a huge tourney.
And I think it was 27-handed. You probably played close to a chip lead pot. Queen suited, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that hand.
I had chip lead for a while, and then this guy who was playing pretty tight. I'd only been at the table for about an hour, which in online poker that's a long time, but live poker, like, it's like 10 hands or whatever. Especially deep in these tourneys, like the hands take 10 times longer because it's such massive decisions. But this guy had been playing pretty tight, and he opened up under the gun with, I'd say, somewhere around 20 bigs. And it folded around to me in the small blind. I had ace queen of hearts, and I was thinking about jamming on him, but I mean, I really don't think I just thought it was like too many chips in this situation to gamble with, first of all.
You would snap ship that online. Sorry to interrupt, but you would snap ship that online, correct?
Definitely. I mean, unless I knew the guy was like just playing 1% of hands.
Yeah.
But so I flat, and the flop is 10 deuce deuce, 2 hearts, and I have the ace queen of hearts. And he bets pot, and I thought about. I don't know what I was really thinking about. I was pretty much just thinking in my head, I've got the nuts, I'm never folding. And I crammed it in there. It was like a 300K pot or something, and he had queens and held. Yeah, it was pretty devastating. But, I mean, I came back from it just because he just kept folding after that. The whole table was pretty tough.
This is the funny thing, too, because I knew he was deep in it, but I was playing my own stuff. I go over there to rail him for a little bit. Literally the first hand I see is the ace queen of hearts. So I may have mushed you, and I wanted to apologize for that.
Man, you are the cooler.
I think I may be. Like, I literally said, me and Tommy. It was me and Tommy Felice, and I go, Tom, let's get out of here, man. We're just bad luck.
It wasn't in my life or anything.
But still an awesome awesome run. Congratulations.
Yeah, and then I chopped aces versus ace queen all in pre-flop for a huge pot with 2 tables left. Pretty devastating. And then after that, man, just kind of withered away. It's amazing how like the blinds get so big, and because you don't see enough hands, it's just the dynamic of a live tournament is so much different than online. It's something I really haven't gotten good at. But this is my first, 5-digit score of.
Oh, how much practice do you get? The whole summer is a Sunday, right? So
it's crazy.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
I should have won the 6-max, or not, sorry, I should have won the regular shootout. I got 3-handed with 30K chips out of 45K and lost that. It's just like those tournaments, man, they're like so hit or miss. So, yeah, like you said, it's like every day is a Sunday. Like it's crazy, the variance.
Yep.
Yeah, very true.
But still having that deep run, you have to gain confidence from that. Just having that big of a run and that big of an event. I mean, that money up top is life changing. So like you're like that close to it. Like you bink a heart, you're like top 2 in chips. And now things change because one thing that you're good at is when you have a stack, you know how to put people, like you said earlier, in tough decisions. So I mean, you're like a heart away from being
it's true.
The winner of that tournament. It's crazy.
That table was fun too. It was a lot of like Matt Stout was there, Ryan LaPlante was there. The guy Red Grape on 2+2 was there. He ended up winning it, I think. Max something.
The head up beast.
Yeah. So I mean, there was like it wasn't an easy table. It was fun though. That's for sure.
You must be aching to get back there next year. Ever a run like that?
Yeah, I am. I'm aching to get back to a live tournament. I was thinking about going to Borgata in September. I think you guys are doing that, right?
Yeah, we'll be there. Yeah.
In a couple of weeks. Just debating if there's good Maximus, because it's like hard to make a lot of money traveling the circuit unless you really unless you bank a tourney just because the expenses are so high.
Yeah,
but,
it really is. It makes it tough.
Yeah, it is nice getting away from the online grind though.
It's like added rake,
definitely
added rake. So you have to like project your ROI. I mean, your ROI is going to be higher, but it's just more long term.
Yeah, not to mention you see your your poker friends for the first time in however long, and you got to go to the bars and
I didn't play once with you in Vegas, did I?
Oh no, I don't. Play beer pong until 5 a.m. at O'Shea's Bill's.
Well, if you make a last-minute decision, we'll be there this week. So
yeah, sounds good. I might.
Cool. All right. Well, let's. We've rambled on long enough, I guess. Let's jump into some hands here. So what we did with this episode is we actually put word out that we were going to let the members of TPE pick the hands, and some people submitted their own hands, some people submitted other people's hands, etc. And we came up with a list of a few that we thought were the best or the most interesting. And members actually voted on hands that people submitted as well, so there was some of that in this as well. But so that's kind of where these hands have come from. So we'll make sure and put links to these in the podcast notes so you can check those out.
Yep.
With that, let's jump into it. Diego, you want to take the first one?
Yeah, sure. So once again, like Derek said, we'll put the links. This one was actually posted right in the thread where we called for hands. It's by Tilted EV, super active TPE member. So definitely want to look at this hand here.
Super.
Yeah, super active. Awesome member. Really, really great member. Okay, so it is early on in a $215 60K on merge. So what is that? Is that like a nightly or not?
The high roller, right?
That's the high roller.
I
That's
don't
not
know,
a nightly high roller.
Wait, is that the merge deep stack
Sunday.
stuff?
The Sunday one at like 4 p.m. or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what it is because they don't do a 60K nightly, so it's got to
be.
Yeah. Okay. So he says the villain is a regular who knows who he is, and they talk about hands occasionally, so they know a little bit about each other. Blinds are 50, 100. Tilted EV is in middle position with 7,000 chips, so he's got pretty deep stacked. And looking at the blinds at the table, everyone is actually around 7K. So I guess they probably started with 7,500. I guess, right? And everyone's got about 7K. One guy has Albert Chuntz, who's actually in this hand, has 11.4K, and the small blind has 5.7K. But everyone else has about 7K.
I think this actually, I mean, not that it really matters. This actually may be the high roller because I think in the 215 at 1 p.m. West Coast, you start with 5K. Or am I wrong, Jeff? You start with 10.
10. Start with 10.
Yeah, so this probably isn't that then. This is probably the high roller.
No, the high roller is 530. So it can't be that one. Isn't the high roller 530?
So everyone
the
just
high roller is 15 at night. The 500 is the Sunday Super Stay.
Okay, so the Sunday Super. So this might be the high roller on Sunday. That might be what it is.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. High roller on Sunday.
I mean, that's not a big issue, but whatever.
Okay. All right, so basically.
No, we must know what tournament this is.
Well, it's good we know the buy-in at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has queens in middle position. It folds to him. He makes it 200 from 100, and he gets 3-bet by, let's see, so Tilted EV is third to act, and then this guy is not the cutoff.
Hijack. He's the hijack.
Yep, so.
It's probably important to mention that Tilted EV probably runs like 30-20 for all you HUD guys out there. So Tilted EV is ag. Ryan is very ag.
And he says the villain is a reg who knows who he is.
So, yeah.
But it's pre-ante, so I'm not saying that means he's 3-betting light, but I think it is important. Like, I definitely would 3-bet pre-ante a little wider against him.
Also, Tilted EV's opening from middle position, and this guy knows him, and he's in the hijack, so he's 3-betting him. So it's not, aces and above, queens and above, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean he's gonna end up being in position, right? So he could be 3-betting like 5, 6 suited.
Right. So let me just give you the betting sizes. So Tilted EV makes it 200. Albert Chuns, who's the villain, makes it 494, and everyone else folds, and Tilted EV calls. And like I said, Tilted EV has queen. So pretty standard, right? You don't want to get into another re-raise out of position, I assume, with the queens here, right?
Yeah, I'd probably raise a bit bigger pre-flop.
What, you would raise bigger than min?
Yeah, like at least 2.5, maybe 3. I'd probably make it like, I don't know, a little, 2.5 or 3. I think min's just too small.
Because we're so deep?
Yeah, and because queens is a really good hand. You want to build the pot.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's
I differ there. I mean, I'm fine with a min raise here, 2.2x. Like, I mean, you can't make it bigger, but I don't think that's a big... I don't think that's a leak at all, actually.
No, I don't either. It's my style.
That's just what you do, yeah. But we would all flat. There are guys like that run like 15% 3-bet, and if you plug that in the poker stove, it's like ridiculous. So you can 4-bet queens for value in certain spots for ante. This isn't one of them, although I don't know the villain.
You could 4-bet fold too. I mean, what hands was he?
I mean, I'm just not big on that here. I'm like 90% flatting here. It's like a small portion of the time in my 4-betting, like to get it in.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Does the dynamic that these guys have actually talked about hands? I don't know. He doesn't really say they're friends, but he says they know who they are. They know who each other are, and they've talked hands. So I guess we can call them acquaintances or friends. Does that make you more apt to 4-bet? Because I mean,
I think it means that the person's tighter. Like anytime I know someone and they 3-bet me, I feel like they're not gonna mess around with me as much. So I'll probably play a little bit tighter.
Okay.
Or straightforward at least.
Both ways, actually. But yeah, I guess for the most part, you're probably right. That I don't know. Maybe they're just messing around. I don't know. That is a weird dynamic though. Like the guy and you're like, look at that guy.
I guess it depends a little more on what that. I mean, he doesn't go into a lot of detail about how well they know each other, and it is a $215 tournament. Like if this was an $11 and Mark Alioto was the one 3-betting me, I would 100% 4-bet him here.
And you would get 5-bet by King 5 and
All right, so I think we're all saying though, even though there are some other options, most of us we're all pretty much just calling here. We're going to play this out of position. We don't want to blow up the pot. We have queens. We don't want to get 5-bet and potentially fold. So he basically agrees with us because he does the same. He calls the 294, and we go to a flop. So there's 1138 in the pot. We go to a flop of 2 of clubs, 9 of clubs, king of hearts, and remember, Tilted EV has queens here. One of them is a club, so he has the runner backdoor outs if we get to that. So first off, Tilted EV is first to act. So he checks here. Any thoughts on that, or standard, or?
Always have to check, on a king high board.
Yep. Okay, so he does, and the villain bets 350 into the 1138, and Tilted EV calls here.
All right.
We all agree with that?
Yeah, I think his bet though. I think it's important to bet it like know his sizing based on like the level it is. Like deeper in a tournament, I bet like 350 like you earlier on in a tourney. I think for value you should be betting more, and then later on in a tourney you can bet smaller because the pot's so bloated as it is. So I mean, just like note Alberto.
It's harder to, I agree 100%. Like you're saying, it's just harder to get it in when you make a hand, and that's why you say opening 3x, which is why it isn't bad. I'm saying. I'm just not used to, but yeah, his sizing is 1/3ish here.
So what do you guys make of? And maybe this is just a mental block I have, but Albert, the pre-flop 3-better, makes it bet smaller than he 3-bet. Like so, when I 3-bet pre-flop, always feels weird to me to make a continuation bet that's smaller than my 3-bet was. Is there any sizing tells there based on?
I think you should be doing that more later in a tourney. I think earlier in a tourney it looks a lot weaker, but later in a tourney I think it's
yeah. But with Annie's, your 3-bet when you c-bet, it's always like you would have to be betting under 1/3 as a c-bet, which you can do, but it's usually going to be higher than your 3-bet anyway, just because of the pot being bigger because of Annie's.
Because of antes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. All right.
But here, yeah, I mean that is weird. I actually, Diego, I'm kind of in the same boat. I have to admit, I find it really weird. In fact, I type it sometimes. I'm like, wait a minute, I bet.
This just seems weird, right? Okay, because here,
like I have to bet 405 now.
Right, because he bet 494. So like me, my standard C bet here would be like 505 because it's half. It's a little less than half pot, but it's bigger than my opening. Although I'd want to bet like 402 or something like that because but I can't bring myself to bet smaller because it's smaller than my 3-bet, and I feel like it's going to look so weak that I'm going to get crammed on or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's a tell or not.
No, I agree. I do the same thing. Not sure why.
Maybe he's betting small because he wants to get check raised because it's such a draw heavy board. Like clubs are going to check raise, and maybe Ryan will get out of line with a hand like Jack 10.
I mean, if anyone will get out of line, it's definitely Ryan. Like I did a review with him. He's a good buddy. He's really good, but he does get out of line. This is weird though because now that I'm looking at it, like 350 into 1150, basically like. On King 9 Deuce 2 clubs, like I'm really confused already.
Yeah, so.
I mean, I'm definitely just calling. I mean, KB, you're just calling here always, right?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely just calling.
What do you think of that sizing? Everyone, like, of 350 into that. Like, you think it's the nuts? Do you think it's a draw? Do you think it's?
I still think it could be anything. I don't know enough about this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it could definitely be anything.
Can we range him yet? Do we have enough information to range him? He's 3-bet us pre, and we don't think he's doing it super light, even though we have some history. And then he makes this tiny bet. Can we range
I would
him
take
yet?
away a hand like Ace Queen and Ace Jack.
Because he would bet bigger.
I don't think he has 9s or deuces. I mean, I think we all can agree there. I mean, some people will 3-bet 9s here, but it's god awful. In my opinion, I don't know if I don't want to say. In my opinion, 3-betting 9s pre-flop here, pre-ante is
right. You could definitely have kings.
I'm taking those out of his range. 9.
Yeah, and Jeff's saying he can have kings, and I agree. So obviously, that's in his range.
Like and King 9 suited? Are we throwing? Is there a shot?
It depends what type of player his 3-bet is. Like I would 3-bet King 9 suited all day, especially with these stacks, and knowing that Ryan opens heaps. Like King 9 suit is definitely in his range.
Right.
Yeah, I think it could be.
Yeah.
That's always what's tough, man. Like and if people ask me when we're in the TP chat, they ask me, what do you do here? And, like, my answer is always, like, how's he been playing? Like, everything's player-dependent.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
And the fact that he c-bets so small into, I want to say the drawiest of boards, but relatively drawy, would that discount some main hands as well because he's not really protecting his pot? Like, is Ace-King betting this small? Right, or is King
if he's not trying, like, and if he has a real hand, like, is betting 350, is he going to be able to get it in on 3 streets? And I don't think he is. Maybe it's close.
He could have a weak king just to see where he's at, hand like King 4 suited or something, depending on how crazy he's getting.
Right, I just feel like his stronger hands are going to see bet a little bit more here.
I agree with that.
I think for the most part,
except for kings.
As well.
Except for kings.
Right, except for kings, right. Right, and we don't think he has 9s or 2s because you don't think
especially if he has kings with the king of clubs.
Right.
Yeah.
If a club comes on the turn, he can still barrel.
Okay.
Cool. But we all agree on check call here, correct?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So that's what Tilted EV does. He check calls, and now the pot is 1838 going to the turn, and the turn is the ace of clubs. So now we have 3 clubs, ace of clubs, 9 of clubs, 2 of clubs, and king of hearts on the board. Tilted EV is first to act again, obviously, and now he has the club draw. So first off,
second nut two.
Second nut two, right? Unless this guy has the king of clubs, which could be in his range. But so Tilted EV is first to act. Does anyone lead here, or do we all check, or what do we think?
I don't mind leading. The thing is, if he's going to call it as a draw, I'd rather lead and try to take down the pot.
Lead what? Smaller?
Just half pot. You don't have to lead small, because, like 900. I'd rather lead a little bit bigger and sacrifice a few chips longer and take down the pot.
The thing is it's an ace. Like, that hits his smack hits his 3-bet range if he was bluffing on the flop. And Ryan, I don't think Ryan's really...
Well, what's he bluffing, though, on the flop? Like, ace-king isn't a bluff, right? Ace-queen?
No, but ace-queen, maybe.
Yeah, but it's unlikely.
Stuff like that.
He has queens. How often does he have ace-queen here?
But like ace-10, random suited aces.
Right.
The thing is,
ace-10, ace-jack, right?
The random suited ace that would bet that flop is like an ace-3 or something of clubs, and the ace club hits the turn, so he's not betting. He probably doesn't have ace-X suited.
But in 3-bet pots, people are c-betting 90% of the time, something ridiculously high. Probably not 90%, but in 3-bet pots, people are usually c-betting full range. I mean, you do, Jeff, correct?
I do, yeah. So, if this guy's c-bet is 100% on the flop, could you check raise the flop just to see where you're at, and if he continues, you just fold?
See, that's where we've talked about this situation before, and you do it sometimes. I don't, because I still think you have too much value with your hand, and you'll just be able to find out more on the turn.
So you'd rather just check call and let him barrel?
I mean, he's not always going to... I don't really want him to barrel because there's a king out there, and I definitely think ace-king is definitely in his range. And, I wish I knew this guy's 3-bet percentage because that would change everything. I guess I don't hate the flop check raise, but I'd rather just check call and then just because we're post-flop, let's, although we're out of position, it's going to be tough. It's pre-ante. Don't need to put in too many chips. It's just my
but if you lead and he raises you, what do you do?
I fold. I mean, a lot of the time I like to just check fold this anyways, because you're only if you're playing your queens as a draw, you're really only drawing to the club with one pull. And was that 20%? Not even 20%, is it? It's got to be less than that.
Yeah, and like you said, we talked about this hand before for a minute. You don't get as much action on a 4-club board.
No.
So when you hit a club, it's there's 4 clubs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think that actually is
that's a really good point.
Yeah, Jeff said that earlier, and I was like, yeah, man, you're spot on.
That's a good point.
I mean, I'll just say this. This is my line. I think we all should say what we do. And I'm check calling the turn every single time.
I'm either check folding or leading. One of the two.
Yeah, I'm with Mark. I'm check calling too, but I kind of like Jeff's rationale for leading. I don't hate it.
I just think a lot of the equity in the draw is the fold equity. So if you're going to play a draw, you should be betting it just because you get that fold equity. And really, you literally never have any fold equity if you're check calling.
If you lead into me here, I'm never putting you on clubs, ever. Which is sick. If you do have clubs, that's awesome. But, I'm never putting you on clubs. I'm not putting you on ace-king. I'm not, I don't know if I'm going to believe anything. If I do have an ace or maybe ace. I don't know what you're trying to rep when you just lead.
Also, though, when you hit your club, it's not the nut club. I think that's
I get that.
I think that's it's so hard to play the non-nut flush on a 4-flush board.
Especially a king is definitely in his range, and he could have the king of clubs. Agreed.
Instantly, yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Diego, what are you doing? Are you ever leading? Are you check calling? Are you check folding? It's not an easy.
It's a tough spot. I think in game I check call, but I probably spend a lot of time staring at this hand post afterwards in my hand history replayer. But in game, I think I'm check calling, but I'm not feeling great because I think to the point Jeff made or Jeff made earlier with you, Mark, when you hit the club, you don't get a lot of value anyway.
So maybe check fold is best because like really we're drawing to a club. He's not going to check back the river when we check to him, and maybe he does with like I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
I kind of like a lead. I kind of like a lead here. I gotta say,
weird.
I like
it is, but I'm just trying to figure out what he's repping.
What's also sick is if the
you're
king
repping a flush when you lead the turn. I feel like, and like that's nobody takes that line, which is why it's kind of sick.
Oh yeah, when the king, if the king of clubs does hit the river too, like you don't even have the nut flush. You know, there's like a full house on board. If he has ace king, like that's half his range or any set.
Right.
Well, it's crazy.
I kind of like the lead here because I think that I do interpret his flop bet as his flop C bet as weak given the size because I think if he had anything decent he'd bet bigger, and I think once I call. If I lead here and he plays back at me, I'm going to then think that his flop C bet is actually strong. He did that on purpose, but I think that if I lead here, if he just calls, I think he's still weak. But if he raises me, I think I could safely fold here and just get away from it. I think better.
You get more information anytime you bet. Like that's what betting is you get information. So, like, I think it always helps to know where you're at in the hand.
I don't do a lot of leading. Do you guys do a lot of leading? I don't do a lot of leading.
I don't do enough of it, I think.
I agree.
It's a good spot for it.
Yeah, Ryan is actually the king of it. When I did the hand history review with him, he led quite a bit, and we talked about it. They talk about it on the forums, too, on TPE. Leading is definitely puts you in tough spots.
Leading on a scary board, someone with, like, an awkward stack, I think it's really profitable in the long run. Doesn't matter what you have, An
ace just smacks his range. Like he could have c-bet with air. Like a lot of people will c-bet king 9 deuce in a 3-bet pot with ace anything if they did 3-bet it with it and it got there. So it's like not folding that much. I like a lead if you're blocking, but you need to like you make it half pot. I would rather make it like 700 or something.
Yeah, I think you lead 700 here
and get to see the river for cheap.
If you lead 700 here and he calls, he's probably got one of those aces you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of get that information, and and then you could just shut down if or see what he does, or see what the river comes. But I think you can lead here and get that information.
And now,
ace or king clubs.
The thing that's interesting about a lead is that when the river does come a club, you can check call and he's going to bluff the flush every single time.
Say that again.
Yeah.
If you see the turn and the river hits a club, he just calls, and the river comes a club, you can just check call, and he's going to bluff a club like 99.9% of the time. Which is why a lead isn't actually that bad. I'm just not big on it. I haven't experimented with enough.
If you lead and he calls, and then the flush comes, you could bet too, and. See.
But I think I'd rather bluff catch.
Yeah, I think I'd probably rather bluff catch too.
You could bet too for value. If he has
if a club comes, he's going to check behind on that his aces probably, and we think aces are a decent part of his range.
Yeah, but he may not call aces on the river. There's definitely
he may not call the aces either.
Definitely value in leading a flush and checking it.
Right.
Anyway, it's so funny. We talked about the flop for 10 minutes and the 20 minutes.
Right. Well, this is great. So okay. So what Tilted EV actually does is he does check. And the villain bets 725 into 1838, and so he calls. So I think in game I'd probably do that a lot too, but I don't know if it's the best thing based on the conversation we just had.
And neither do I now that I think about it. With our hand, with 4 clubs on the board, we're probably not getting paid. So
yeah,
right.
It's also good to know what your stack is going to be after you call off that bet. So what does he put in? He put in 500 pre-flop, 350 on the flop, that's 850, plus another 725, that's 1575.
So 700 behind, right?
Yeah, that's what. It's about 20% of his stack.
Right, and when he check calls here, on a blank river like a 4 of diamonds or something, he then he has what, check call again or just check evaluate?
Oh no, I'm check folding.
Check folding, right? So then
I'm basically drawing to the flush, like not getting the greatest.
We're just drawing to the flush, right? We're just drawing to the flush.
In playing, he checks back sometimes when he does have like 10s or something. Which I don't think he does have.
But how can we draw to the flush here if we're calling 725 into 1838? Oh, I guess it's 725 into.
No, you're right. The math's off, but there is a small percentage of the time he just checked back and shows pocket 4s or something. 5-4, no
well, I
club.
guess we are putting in a little less than 1/4, so the math it's close actually. The math.
Well, with 3 clubs out there, it's like 1 4.5.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like
yeah,
it's
right,
not getting 25%.
Yeah, it's not 25%, right? It's like yeah. Right, but we're not going to get paid that often.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem too.
So
but he may bluff sometimes. There are if say the club comes and then tilted EV checks, I feel like the river is gonna bluff every single time. Obviously he can bet for value.
No,
but
wait.
I also think he's gonna bluff in position, turn all his hands.
You think Alberto is gonna bluff?
Depending on what he has. Yeah.
I think all of his value hands he's checking back like ace kings.
Yeah, so do I. But there are. Some people do turn value hands in the bluff. But
I agree.
Like a set of aces, he's going to check back. A set of kings, ace.
What do you think he puts Ryan on? What do you think the villain puts him on? We got to think about that too.
Right.
What does he think Ryan has here? I would put him on some pocket jacks, to be honest.
I was going to say
with the
10s,
clubs.
jacks.
Yeah, 10s, jacks, and queens with the one club. I think his hands kind of face up.
Yeah.
Exactly what he has. I agree.
Maybe even king queen with the queen of clubs.
Yeah, king queen is definitely in that too.
But I think that flatting a 3-bet with king queen offsuit out of position is pretty bad.
Pre-ante, I agree.
So it's hard to put him on that.
That's a whole nother. Okay.
All right. So he so the river so like I said, he check calls on the turn. The pot is 32.88. The river is the jack of clubs. So there's the club that we were kind of hoping and waiting for, unless we are afraid he has the king of clubs. And Ryan is once again first to act, being out of position. And so let's go through. Jeff, you said, well, okay, who check called here? Mark, you were check call?
Check called.
And then you would check and let him bluff.
I would definitely bluff catch.
You bluff catch. And,
or he checks back a set of aces and I feel like an idiot, but I don't want to lead call off. I think there's a small chance if he does have the nut flush, that he's not. How much is in the pot on the river? 32.88.
32.88. Yeah.
And Ryan's put in how much?
Ryan was put in roughly half of that,
15,
right?
700. Well, there's 700.
75 or something.
1575. Yeah. So he has 4,500. Yeah, he's not going to overshove. And if he does overshove, I'm just going to fold. Which is
5,500, I think.
5,500, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 3,300 in the pot. If you check, and he does have the king of clubs, I'm guessing he's going to bet, he can't overshove, which is sick, and I'll fold. He's not going to bet pot, because not many people do that. He's probably going to bet, 2K, and you can call and still have chips left. That's why I hate, he does this often. He leads in weird spots, and, I don't think he knows what he's doing. I love you, Ryan. But I don't really know what you're doing here when you lead the river, and that's why you post a hand.
But this is why I hate the call on the turn, is because you get in this awkward spot even when you do hit. You really, it's like.
No, you just check call. It's not that awkward, Jeff. You just check call the river.
But he's not. I don't think he's going to be betting his value hands aces.
Then you win the pot. Then you just win the pot and you have 8K.
All right, that's fair enough. So
or whatever, 10K.
But if you're not going to put if you're never putting more chips in, you're not getting the right price on your call on the turn.
Yes, you are. If he checks back a decent amount of time the river with nothing, he just gives up. A lot of people double barrel 3-bets with air and will give up on the river because you're calling.
So you're saying your queens were just good in the first place the whole time?
No, a small percentage of the time.
Yeah, I think sometimes they are, definitely.
Yeah. And that's why I don't hate. That's why I like check call. Basically, I'm still drawing on a flush. I'm saying that's a really small percentage of the time, but it does happen.
I don't mind betting small and folding, to be honest. Bet like 100 and fold, yeah.
Oh, like the min bet. I love.
Use the old river min bet.
I mean,
God, this is actually a great spot for the river min bet. Oh my God.
I'm check call on the river all day because one, you're not going to lose all your chips, and you still will have around 20-ish big blinds, unless the guy's a genius and pots it, can see that you have queens with the queen of clubs. Like, you check, he's going to bet 2K, and you're left with 35 bigs. Like, no big deal. Move on to the next hand. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
I think this is the nut spot for the min bet on the river too.
But min bet to induce?
Oh, min bet to do anything. The guy's going to spew most of the time if you min bet.
Yeah, so then you're inducing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, all right. So good to know on a 4 flush board, min bet will induce a spew.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing on the river? Am I crazy to just check call? Like, why not bluff catch and save your stack?
No, as played, I check call. I think check calling is as played, I check call. I would play the turn, in retrospect, probably, like I said, in flow, I play it probably the same way, but looking back, I'd lead the turn, and on the river, as played, I would catch.
I'd check call as well.
Yeah.
I think Ryan is thinking, since he drew on the turn, I think in order to play the hand as the way he did, he had to lead the river for value. But this is why I don't do it too, because it puts you in awkward spots when Albert just gips.
Right.
Yeah.
But I know he calls good. He lead calls, which I like, Ryan.
Yeah. So
but again, I just check call, preserve what you have. Stay in the tournament here. If you aren't good, just check call and you still have chips and you're still alive. Like, you don't have to get max value every single hand. It's good to, but
if you check and he jams, though, are you calling?
I'm puking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
You might see that a decent amount of time.
I think then it really comes down to what Ryan knows about this guy from talking hands and playing with him.
Yeah. Oh, God. What I was going to say, and sorry to interrupt again. I get fired up on these hands. Like if you check, like how many times is someone going to overbet the nuts on the river? Like, I think you're going to go for value every single time, like 2K, like good value, like 2,300. Jeff, do you overbet shove the river there?
I love overbet shove here.
To be honest, I don't know. I try to avoid this spot. Like,
I'm saying if you were Albert and it got checked
Albert.
when you had the king of clubs, you're overshoving.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But then you miss out on the times he has like the 10 of clubs. Where if you bet like he may call with 10 of clubs. Yeah, but he's
on the
way
nuts or
more
nothing.
bet smaller.
People have a hard time folding jacks and queens of clubs here. It's a hard fold.
I agree with that.
That's a hard fold. Well, it's not jacks because jacks up. So it's either queens or tens. Queens are even
queens or tens. Yeah, no, they both are tough.
That's tough to fold.
Yeah. So he either has this. If we're trusting what we said Albert's putting him on, then Tilted EV either has the second or third nuts in our mind.
And it's hard to fold. And remember, it's hard. Like, most people don't do this. No one does this step of analysis in hand. So a lot of people will not come to the realization that, he could have pair kings pre-flop a good majority of the time with the king of clubs. So a lot of people are thinking that their queens or their tens are the nuts here.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is like you said, like when you're on 8 tables and you're in the spot as Albert with the king of clubs and it's checked you on the river, your first instinct is going to be you're not going to replay the whole hand and be like, okay, he has jacks or queens or tens, one of the club. I'm going to overshove for value. You're usually just going to bet 2K. I mean, that's just me, and I think I would like. But now that you say it,
I would jam. I jam a lot in this spot.
Wow.
I feel like I'm not going to get called that often for 2K, where I wouldn't get called for the full pot size bet.
I agree with that. I like that.
My first instinct was definitely to check call, but I'm actually leaning towards the min river bet because it almost never fails.
You just want to say you min river bet something. Yeah. Once he does that, he's never going to recommend it again.
I do it all the time now. And I did it live a lot in Vegas, and it's just the nuts.
Now I know at the Borgata if we're at the same table.
That's right.
And what's the min bet on this? 100 chips? 100 chips into 3K? I like it.
Yeah.
The shove is... All right, put it this way, Diego. I don't think enough people are shoving the nuts on the river. I don't think enough people are, so that's why I would check.
I'm just putting myself in Albert's position.
Yeah.
If I'm at Albert's position, I like to shove. If he
that's what I'm saying, but I don't think enough people think on that level. Because now that I'm looking at it, a shove on the river is sick. Based on what we're ranging Tilted EV.
Right.
But you have to put them on that range, which
Hey, you know what? When you have the nuts and you go all in, it's probably never that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so Tilted EV bets 14.54 here. So he leads 14.54, and then he gets shoved on. So now what are we thinking? What's left? There's 5. He's got 4K left. So he makes it 14.54, right? Because he said he had about 5,500, so he's about 4,100 left.
I mean, he can still fold and have 40 bigs left.
I hate it.
I'm not even going to answer this because I would never lead the river, so I don't have an answer.
I think if you're betting the river, it's like for value, obviously. So you have to call off when he shifts.
Yeah.
How do you fold once you bet that?
When you're betting the second nuts, you're not doing it as a bluff.
He's
right?
betting half pot too. It doesn't look like he's folding, which is scary. Like half pot as a bluff on the river on a 4-club board, so sick.
I wonder what he's thinking when he makes the bet. He's like, half pot, don't shove, don't shove, don't shove.
Right.
He does a lot of leading, man. He does a ton of leading, and like a lot of times, like when we were doing the video together, like I loved it, but there was just times where he was like, I don't know why I led here. You know,
if you're doing a lot of leading and that's your style of play and like someone knows it, you should be leading this river then.
I agree.
Yeah, I almost feel like this hand is so player dependent. But like just the fact that they know each other, there's stuff going on here. I think that we may not know about just because we don't know their interactions and their history.
Right.
Well, anyway, so Tilted EV bets, he gets shoved on and he calls, and he doesn't tell us what Albert had. So, Mark, could you hit him up and or Jeff, whoever knows him, can you hit him up and find out? Maybe by the end of the podcast we know.
Yeah, I'll send him a little tweet.
Yeah, tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure like I said, we'll make sure and link to this thread, in the podcast notes so people can.
Yeah, we'll ask him to come back and the link will be in the podcast link. That we'll have link to hands, and this will be there. And in the thread, we'll ask him to respond and give us what the guy actually. Okay. Cool.
Sure.
So we don't know yet, but that was quite an interesting hand. 10 minutes on every turn, every
Yeah.
You need Daryl Jace for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Oh my God, give this to Darryl, right, for his video.
I love Daryl's videos.
We'll get a 4-part series.
Yeah, for just his hand.
Dude, those videos are literally the greatest videos. I watched them all. I was like, oh my God, this guy is on a completely another planet.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't realize you could. I host a podcast, so obviously I know you could talk about hands for a long time. I had no idea you could talk about one hand that much, but I love it. I couldn't believe how much depth there was.
Every angle, it was awesome. Yep. Huge fan. And I love how he speaks his mind.
He says he has AK with the nut flush. That's what Ryan just said.
I had AK, huh?
Nut flush.
Oh, it's KK with the nut flush.
KK with nut flush. There you go, guys.
KK with the nut flush. Yeah, definitely. With his sizing on the flop, I think we all agreed that was definitely.
Well, it was either super
in the
weak or super strong. It was either super strong or super weak. So, given the way the hand progressed, we had to just give him credit for the king of clubs there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kings though, that's good to know. That dude bets like a quarter pot with absolute nuts. I mean, kings on the flop.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm noting it.
And also note like the progression of his bets too. He went from like a third pot to a half pot and then to a jam.
Yeah.
So like
Can
anytime.
Ask Ryan if he can ask his friend if he would have overshoved the river. Please, because
I was going to say, then ask his friend to ask Ryan what he would have done.
Yeah. Well, I'm serious. I'm really curious if he would overshove the river. Cause...
You think, though, that when people progress their bet sizes, it means they get a strong hand? And they go from a third to a half to a full pot?
It sure looks like it.
That's how I bluff, too. Isn't that how you bluff, too?
I always try to set myself up for a pot-sized bet when I'm bluffing.
A pot-sized river shove, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then end up doing like a quarter-sized bet on the river to make it look strong.
Oh, that's so nutty. I would fold like second set.
All right. So if we hear back from Ryan what his friend had, we'll let you know that too. But let's go on to the hand.
Didn't you talk to him, Jeff?
Yeah, kings. Yeah, kings.
He had kings with the king of clubs.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if Ryan then finds out what he had, we'll let you know.
Or he would have shoved for over.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. If he would have shoved for that, sorry, that's what I meant. If Ryan will let us know if that guy would have shoved for value, if he can get to him.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the next hand. All right. So the next hand was submitted by member Doug's, and this is actually from the Bigger 55. Must be nice to be able to play on PokerStars. Just throw that in there. Okay, so he says the villain is 2320 over 69 hands, and he says that his image is pretty ag but not stupid. So probably like me. There's 400 left, 720 were in the money, so somewhat deep. God, those are awesome field sizes. All right, so we have Ace-King offsuit, and we are under the gun +1. So under the gun folds, let's see, blinds are 700, 1400, and we're starting the hand with almost 38K, so that's just over 27 big blinds. We open to 2800 at 700, 1400, so it's a min race. 3 folds, and then the villain who is in the cutoff calls the 2800, and then we get 3 more folds. So there's 9275 in the pot going to the flop, and the flop is Jack 6 4 2 spades. What are you guys doing here? I assume we're c-betting this all the time?
Yeah. I don't c-bet it all the time. Yeah.
No?
I mean, it's just
because of our stack size?
Yeah, I think it just puts us in a really tough spot.
Well, it puts you in a tougher spot if you check.
You think so?
Yeah.
So we're never like check raising the flop or anything or doing anything, just c-bet.
Oh.
The thing is, for me, I put players.
That's tougher for me. I mean, I just think that
the jack is the card that scares me because I think
it's
that
Jack 6-4. Like it's pretty dry. Like yeah, there's a flush draw out there, but that's like the dream c-bet spot in my opinion. Is Jack 6-4.
I just think that anytime the button flats, a lot of the time their flatting range has a jack in it.
And I'm not disagreeing that, but a lot of other hands are in his range than just Jack.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And by checking, I feel like you're just giving up every time.
I don't mind c-betting.
No, but I mean the thing is the reason
Sorry.
why the reason why I said I wouldn't check is because we giving up every time. But you said check raise, which I definitely do not hate. Like check raise, like even just get it in with ace king high. Like check raise looks really strong too.
Did you ever check call? Is that just too weak?
No, I would.
Different plays here, you know.
Yeah, see, that's what I think is interesting is, I look at this flop and go, well, this is an automatic c-bet, but I kind of like the idea of going through and saying, well, could we check raise? Could we check call? Could we check fold?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of interesting. I guess depending on what we're going to do on what turn card, like what is our plan for turn cards if we check call?
Well, if we c-bet here and we get called, and you know, obviously they're discounting any clubs. Let's say that the turn is a blank. Do we have to automatically barrel? If we're c-betting, we have to automatically barrel, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and that's where I think to Jeff's point.
No, see, that's the thing.
Tough.
Why do we have to barrel the turn if it's a blank? Like, why do we have to double barrel?
Because we'll take it down. We'll probably take it down a lot.
Like, what do you think? You think he's just floating a 20 big blind stack with air? Like, he probably, if he's
25.
calling this up, he probably has a jack, 9s, 8s, 7s, in my opinion. I don't think he's floating too often. Obviously,
25 bigs. 25 bigs.
What's up?
I think, well, you have 25 bigs after you make the min-raise pre-flop.
Right.
So then you c-bet to, like another 2. So you're stuck with 23 bigs afterwards, which is like, it's like such a hard stack to play. That's why I would float there. Or I would just click back the flop if I were him. But, I mean, I'm not, obviously.
Wait, you would check click back, you're saying?
No, I'm saying if I were the villain and someone went to me, I would click back that flop a lot or flat. Like, that's a flop I'm never folding.
And because of the hero stack size, if you do, as you say, float or click back, You do put him in a really awkward spot.
Yeah.
On the turn.
Which is why you have to
board.
Yeah. Which is why you have to barrel again.
I agree with that. And I mean, I just don't think you have to double barrel every turn. This my reasoning for c-betting is there's a shit ton of turns that are great. Any spade, any 10, any queen, any ace, any king are all check shove turns, double barrel get in like turns. Like there's a ton of really good turns on this board, and that's why I'm never not c-betting this board when I have like second nut flush, backdoor straight, and 2 overs.
All right.
This is like the dreamiest spot to c-bet, and like there's so many good turns.
And even on bad
turns too, though, I think.
But even on blank turns, well, there are bad turns, but on blank turns, you're going to get, I think, a lot of folds from 7s, 8s, these weak pairs.
You are. It's kind of player dependent again. I hate to say that, but it just is.
But the villain likes to play a lot of hands. He's 23-20, although he 3-bets 7% of the time pre. So
I'd like to know. I mean, the where is he on the cutoff when he calls here?
Yeah,
the cutoff. So that's one.
It's got a big stack too.
That's one of his weaker spots for sure. So his range is much wider. I mean, I'm sure he must be play more hands in the cutoff and button because it's position. So if his range is a lot wider, I think that 8 is actually a pretty bad card on the turn. For his flatting range.
Yeah, we didn't even get to that. We haven't even said what the hero did on the flop.
I guess you're right, Diego. Based on the fact that we do have 25, I thought we started the hand with 25 bigs, 27. Yeah, then I like double barreling a lot more when it comes to blank. I thought we had 20, and then I would just check give up if he floated, which could be a leak of mine. But I'd rather just keep that 18, 20, to 24 stack. But there's so many good turns, Jeff. You don't see that you should always be you don't think you should always be c-betting this board based on the fact that there's so many good turns to double barrel?
It's just the jack, man. The jack scares me. I always put people on a jack when they're flatting me on the button or cutoff. I just think the jack is because that's the nut card for all draws. For jack, queen jack, king jack, jack 9, jack 10s, jack 8 suited. Even if they have a hand 7s and 8s, also that's a good flop for. Those are their flatting hands. And they're, if they have ace-jack, this guy's always going to flat a hand like ace-jack as well. He's not going to 3-bet it.
Yeah, but if the amount of hands you just said is not that big as a range as it really is. You're making it out to be there's only 3 other jacks in the deck. And do all the combinations, there's not that many. Yeah, he's playing a lot of hands, but there's not that many jacks combinations out there where c-betting is not going to be profitable.
So his pairs as well, his small and mid pairs, it's a good flop for.
I agree, and I agree with that. But don't you like the fact that you have backdoor spades, 2 overs, and backdoor straight? This is I mean, maybe I'm wrong. And like I said, I'm new to MTT, so I know I've voiced my opinion, but I literally look at this board and I cream in my pants.
Yeah, but I think part of what Jeff's saying is that with all those backdoor possibilities you said there, Mark, you got to protect your stack a little bit in the tournament. So you're going to get yourself in situations where, just the chance to draw, you're going to be putting a big part of your stack at risk to get to the river.
Yeah. Also with backdoor,
check shove the turn, depending on what comes. If this guy's playing hella pots, he could just be floating with air, and then you check the turn on any given turn. He's going to lead. He's going to bet. Excuse me, and you just check shove.
If you're going to take this line of betting, you could either barrel or check shove. You have to either barrel or check shove the turn. You have to, right?
Yeah.
It depends on turns,
right.
But I don't understand. If we're not c-betting, what are we doing? We're check giving up or check raising. That's
you can't check call.
You can, but it's way harder to play. Dude, c-betting works. Jeff, you said earlier you c-bet 100% of the time.
Could check call lead turn, no matter what the turn is.
You c-bet 100% of the time. This should, I mean, I know you don't c-bet 100. You c-bet 90.
Could you just check give up? I mean, with your stack size, maintain a reshove stack.
I don't think it's out of the question. I get where Jeff's coming from in that if we think his range is sevens and up, and all those combinations of jacks, queen jack, jack 10, jack 9. I mean, a huge part of his range does hit this, and so we're gonna get called a huge percentage of the time when we see bet. And then what do we do on the turn?
The description is he's a 23-20. That's 23-20. That's like he flats 23%. I'll plug it in the poker stove right now. What 23% is, and it's absurd.
Yeah, I guess you're probably
23%.
Right.
So I'm gonna plug it in.
Yeah, but you don't know he's calling under the gun +1 raises that as much. That doesn't tell you that he's calling raises. He's actually pre-flop raising more than he is pre-flop calling. I mean, that's not true, but majority of the time he's pre-flop calling, pre-flop raising as opposed to just calling. He doesn't call.
Yeah, but I mean VPIP is still we can
it's a good
still
indicator, of course.
range a guy by that.
But just because we have ace king high, does that mean we have to get it in?
Right, and I think that's the point that I'm inferring here from Jeff and Mark's sort of disagreement on that. This is that, Mark, you're saying that this is great. You want to get yourself to a turn that you can get your stack in.
No. That's not what I'm saying at all.
But you're saying there's so many good turns so that
I'm saying you're going to win the pot like 70% of the time when you see bet, 60% of the time when you see bet.
Right.
And then there's a lot of good turns.
Okay.
So that
that's different then.
I'm not saying we're trying to get this in. No way. We have weights, there's no way.
Well, to what you just said is why I like a bet, because I think that you do, even though it does hit his range, but now that I talk about it, you're both kind of right. So you see bet here, you're going to get called a ton, right? You're just going to get called a lot. If he raises you, you could probably safely fold for the reasons that Jeff stated. But you're going to get called a ton here because a lot of his jacks are weakish, and his nines and tens and eights are just going to call you and see what you do. And then you're going to hit a lot of turns that now make you want to go further in this hand. So is it better to just play this smaller, more conservatively, keep your stack above 20 big blinds by not c-betting, but when you c-bet here, you're going to get yourself in a situation where the rest of your stack gets in on the turn, or you bet and have to fold on turns that don't hit him, but then he raises. You find yourself in a situation where your stack, I guess, is higher variance than when you hit on the turn and you end up having to fold or getting your whole stack in with a draw.
Yeah, right. The thing is if you look at people's fold to c-bet percentage, it's like 60 to 70%. So if they're folding 60 to 70% of the time, c-betting here is gold because of that.
I don't think he folds 60 to 70% of the time here.
Well, a 23-20, that's what we don't know. That's the if. I'm saying the majority of people are around 60 to 70-ish.
Right, but that's all flops. That's all positions, all flops. In this particular case,
No, that's just a stat based on the amount of times he folds to a c-bet. It doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, but I mean, in his range here, to Jeff's point, is going to have a lot of jacks, right? So he's not folding 60 to 70% of the time, probably.
Why? I mean, I agree that there are jacks, but 23% is not. It's not. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 jacks.
Right.
I mean, my point is this: is that if people are folding, let's say give him 50% fold to a c-bet. He's folding 50% of the time. So that's enough to make a c-bet profitable. Now, when he does call, the fact that we have backdoor spades, backdoor straight draw, and 2 overs.
Well, let me ask you this.
A good double barrel card. So, based on mathematics alone, we should be c-betting this 99.9% of the time.
Of his range, though, what is he folding on the flop to your c-bet? Which of his range?
I mean, if he's flatting 23%, that's deuces, 3s, 4s, well, he's not folding 4s.
And he would fold that he would flat with pre is like a 9-10 suited.
Right.
8-9 suited. King 10. He should be 3-betting King 10, but
23% is ace-3 suited, and all those.
Okay, well, for purpose of continuing the discussion, the hero in this hand, Doug's, actually does c-bet. He bets 2,800 into 9,275, which I will say that if he's going to c-bet, I do like that bet size a lot.
It's tiny.
That's kind of like about it, though. I mean, I guess Mark and Jeff, you can tell me what you think, but I feel like if we get check raised or something, we can just fold and keep as many chips as
Yeah, with
possible.
27 bigs, maybe.
I would probably make it like 3,200, 3,300. So yeah, I mean I think 1/3 is good here. That's standard c-bet for me now because it works so often. You don't have to c-bet as much. Paul G's got me on it. I was going half pot every single time, or like a little under half pot.
Right.
I think the deeper you are in the tourney, the less you should be betting,
Yeah.
sizing wise.
But is this just too small, or is this okay?
It is.
It's less than 1/3.
Yeah, no, I know. I think it's a little small.
It's like
All right.
1%.
Well, let's think about what we would want to do on the turn in relation to the pot size. If the turn card comes a card where you're going to want to check jam, you should be building the pot for that.
Right.
He would.
So-
Let's just assume he bets 7K on the turn. Let's just assume he bets half pot check 2.
What's the pot at
7,800.
What's the pot at on the turn after he bets 2,800 and gets called?
15K.
Yeah, so he's probably going to bet around 7,000. And then what are you jamming? You're check jamming. If you do check jam, that
Like depending on what the turn is, yeah.
that's what, like 20K into 22 or something like that.
You always want to have that option, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, then I think he should go a little bigger. Based on that.
Right.
If that's
30.
the line you want to take.
Well, yeah, there's just certain turns where that's going to be good.
Do we get called? Do we get floated at 2,800 more than we get floated at 33, or is it
No.
the same? It's exactly the same, right?
Yeah, I think it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's the same.
I think there's probably a difference 2,800 to half pot, but I've been told differently. But I still think, I don't know, people will be like, oh, it's only, I'm getting.
I think
good
a good stat here to have would be the villains fold to c-bet. I think that's like a really good stat in this spot.
I agree. And fold to turn c-bet. Remember I told you I added that?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I added both. I always add fold to c-bet, but I added fold to turn c-bet too. Like, it's an amazing stat.
Because if he's a 0% fold to c-bet, would you still c-bet?
That's a good question.
I've never seen a guy with 0%, but
If it's
yeah.
like 25%, something.
No, I would always c-bet this board. I just think it's on the drier side of things. The guy who wrote this, Doug, said that this guy was playing a lot of hands, so I would always c-bet this board. And again, I think there's a lot of really good turn cards that we can check, shove, double barrel, bluff, and triple barrel bluffing. I think our hand has good equity still.
If he's the type of player who just plays a ton of pots and then just folds when he doesn't hit it post-flop, I wouldn't want to check jam a turn. But if he's the type of player who's going to float you and just try to steal pots all the time, I would check jam the turn. So I would c-bet. So,
depending on what the turn is, you're saying.
and I would c-bet either way, just to find out.
Yeah.
Well, did we say that what the turn was yet? Should we do that?
No, we haven't done the turn. We were just
Wait,
discussing.
so you're saying you're check shoving like just good turns or any turn?
Any turn.
Yeah, and look, that's Nisley. That looks nutty.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if I would c-bet. I honestly might just check him up this board. That may sound way too nitty, but I might do it. Just check fold.
Yeah.
Sucks. But that's
God knows I've done it before.
That's the problem with like the 27 big blind stack is it's so hard to play.
Yeah.
I know, but like you're giving him. I think your guys are giving him to like. I don't think this smacks his flatting range. Like, I don't think it smacks it where it's not going to make a c-bet profitable. And like I said, with the added equity and all the backdoor stuff, like I think we have to be c-betting this flop every single time.
And you can never make a case to just check call? Is that out of question?
I think against some opponents, but that makes the hand really hard to play for me.
If you were going to check call, what would you do on the turn? Would you have to lead it? I'd probably lead it.
Yeah, Tommy Felice style. I don't know. I wouldn't be in on this board. I would be c-betting 100% of the time.
Right.
All right.
Because I think if we c-bet, we still have a really good stack if he does call or he raises or something. I don't think like the difference between 18 to 25 big blinds is that enormous. Like my rejamming range is like, I'll actually rejam 30 sometimes, but like is not changing that much. I don't think 5 or 6 big blinds is going to change the outcome of the tournament.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. So before we do get to the turn, I just wanted to ask. So Hero bets 2,800, like I said, in the 92.75. The villain calls in this hand, but I'm curious what you guys would do if villain raised this flop. I guess we're just
I'd fold.
automatically folding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which could be another reason not to c-bet.
Right. Yeah. I think you just got to let it go and just move on.
Right. Okay. So doesn't that make the 2,800 better than like 3,300? Since we said we're getting floated the same amount of the time.
Yeah, then bet smaller would be better.
Okay.
Because you risk less.
Let me ask you guys something. Do you guys believe that people are folding to c-bet? What do you think percentage of just every single person that plays poker, what do you think fold to c-bet is?
Online nowadays?
Yeah, online, live, whatever.
Let's get less than 50.
Yeah, I think he's right.
Less than 50.
I feel like you get floated all the time.
Okay,
Constantly getting floated.
Okay, so less than 50. So you're probably saying it's 40 plus.
Yeah.
If you say less than 50, otherwise you would have said less than 50.
Yeah.
So
let's
say 40% of the time he is folding. Now you guys all mean to tell me that with ace king 2 overcards, backdoor spades, where we all agree we can still win the pot by check shoving, leading, triple barreling, all that fun stuff. You don't think it's going to be profitable to c-bet here? And I disagree.
No, I didn't say that. I actually would c-bet here. I was just arguing with you.
Yeah.
No, I would. No, I. If I didn't make that clear, yeah, I actually do c-bet here. I'm trying to think about how this sets us up on the turn.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Not with the image I have. With the image I have, I would check fold.
Check call, Jeff.
I think I'd check fold with my image.
Oh my God!
Because dude, when I play these hands, like I get paid when I hit my big hands all the time, so I have to give up my middle hands.
Jeff, I hate to call you out on this. You said earlier you c-bet 100% of the time.
All right, yeah, fair enough.
You did.
I did say that. Then I would c-bet. Then I would c-bet give up.
This is like the best board to c-bet.
Then I would c-bet give up or just check fold. I don't know.
Jeff. You know I do.
I love it. One thing I do like though, and I think this is kind of worth discussing, is I think of my flop c-bet amount more in terms of my, I don't even know how to describe what I'm saying, but Jeff, I like what Jeff said about making his c-bet based on what he's going to do on the turn and how he's going to basically set up getting all his chips in. I don't think of it that far ahead, I guess is what I'm trying to say. When I just look at the flop and I go, well, what's an amount I can bet? And if I'm going to fold, like I lose the least, but it gets him to fold sometimes.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm horrible at, too. It's really hard to do when you have a lot of tables up, too, setting up a river shove. Jeff is really good at that.
Yeah.
Jeff,
I love the fact that he even thinks of it that way.
Like,
I
that
did.
should be known. Jeff's a bigger winner than I am in MTTs, so, like...
Yeah, I played more.
Yeah, whatever. That's not the point. I'm saying, like, we're disagreeing in a spot where I'm going to make you c-bet this 100% of the time.
For the record, I said I c-bet 100%, but I definitely don't. It's probably like 75 or 80.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's go back. So turn is...
Okay, so yeah, the turn is the 8 of spades, and now there's just under 15K in the pot, and the turn is the 8 of spades. So now the board is 4, 6, Jack, 8, 3 spades. We have ace king with the king of spades.
I think check shove puts him in an awful spot. He's going to fold a lot.
Yeah, check raise, get it in no matter what.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, either way. I
think he's going to take a lot of stabs, and even with his weaker jacks, he's going to fold. I think some of them there.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I remember when I first initially looked at this hand.
And I think it's because of the stack to pot ratio and everything. I mean, not that I haven't done the math exactly, but it just feels like whatever you check and then he bets and then you put a big bet in, it's not gonna be enough for him. It's gonna be too much for him to call.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Sorry, Derek, I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to say that I remember when I first saw this hand, Benny, our moderator extraordinaire, was the first person to respond, and he said his first thing was, I like check jam, and I remember going, yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because I just think it's the perfect spot for
Yeah,
him.
I also don't like leading because if he is floating on the flop, you have to give him a chance to bluff the turn.
Yeah, and if he perfect. Love you. I love you now. No, if he's floating with air, if he's floating with air, Jeff, he's betting this 100% of the time, and that's
I agree with that.
He is, and then you have the perfect stack to just.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
And even if he flatted us with like a set of sixes or something, we still have just tons of outs. So
Yeah.
well, not ton, I shouldn't say tons. We don't have tons of outs, but we have outs.
we have out there, and whatever. There's just plenty of fold equity where you're gonna turn a profit long run.
I'm going through the thread and I don't see him actually post the results, but he's an active member too. So we get him to. Okay, so what we'll do? Well, okay. So wait, let's tell. Did we go through what happened?
We don't know because his question in the hand is, what should he do on the turn, 8 of spades?
And there's like 20 responses, but he never tells us what actually happened. So
yeah, we'll get him to come in because I think the discussion on the hand has died down to the point where he could. We always ask people not to give results, but I think he can finally come in and do it. But for the people listening to this and who enjoyed the conversation about the hand, I encourage you to go check out this thread because there's a lot of good discussion on this hand. Like you said, there's like 20-some responses.
And we'll ask Doug's to come in and just tell us what happened. So it'll be in that thread. The link will be off the podcast, and hopefully he'll respond to the thread.
Yeah, make sure and check that out. So yeah, thank you to Doug's for submitting that one. At least the turn was easier than the flop, so we didn't make Jeff.
These hands are exhausting.
Oh man, I'm so opinionated, man. Every time I do one of these things, I fucking cut everyone off. But I get so fired up, man. I love the game so much. Like I just get this.
I would tell you, Mark, you're fun to talk hands with in person. It's great. You always want to talk hands.
No, I am just obsessed with the game. So when someone wants to talk a hand, I'm like, yeah, come here. I love it, and it's how you get better, man.
It is.
And trust me, every day I'm sending Jeff hands. Every single day I go, Jeff, what about this? And I take so much of your advice. We bounce. That's a good thing about us. Jeff and I bounce a lot of hands off each other. It's how you get better, man.
The classic line for Mark this summer was, "Hey man, want to smoke a cig?" and then go outside and talk about the hand every single day at the room.
Yes, this is true. I don't want. No, because when I bust something, I'm like, dude, come have a cig with me, or just stand there.
It's code for, will you listen to a hand history? Awesome.
Oh, God.
So great. Cool. Well, those were some good discussions, and they ran pretty long. So I think we're going to save the couple of hands we had left for another podcast, which will roll out in a couple of weeks. So if you did have a hand in that thread that you were hoping would get discussed, do not fear. We'll try to get to it on the next podcast. But yeah, definitely thanks to the guys who we covered tonight for sending those in because they were obviously good ones.
Yes.
Yeah, great hands.
Absolutely. And Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks,
we really appreciate it. Great discussion, man. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Just trying to get Mark fired up, that's all.
But you know it, bro. We go at it every day, me and you. I'll be like, I think that's horrible, and you're like, no, it's not. And dude, it's we play differently, and it's fine. Both make money, so.
Yeah, so much of it is based on how you play too,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not. I think we're both those type of people that we both adapt. We're not closed-minded where we're not going to listen to other people. If you're like that, TPE members, you will never go anywhere. Take in what everyone else is doing, add it to your game.
Wow, it's so funny you guys are talking about that because I just wrote an article over the weekend that is pretty much about exactly that, and it's going to be posted this week. So
Nice.
it's kind of an interesting. It's interesting that you say that because that's the whole gist of the article that I wrote. So
It's coming out
good.
I'll give it a good read.
Yeah, it'll actually be out. I'll probably wait and post it on Tuesday or Wednesday, so it'll be out this week.
Sounds good.
So yeah, check that out. So cool, guys. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate you guys coming in.
Thanks again.
And we'll make sure to get you guys back on again so we can hopefully get you guys in another fist fight. They were never in an actual fist fight. I just mean this argument that we had here tonight. I don't want to think is there a fist fight in Vegas? Yeah.
Jeff's actually my best friend. I think that's why we argue even more.
Yeah.
It's better that.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back here and wrap things up. Welcome back to the TPE podcast. I want to thank Jeff and Mark for stopping in for a long and heated strategy discussion. I thought that was great. Both those hands were really interesting, so it was cool to get two guys who know each other well enough to not hold back when they're talking through hands.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Really, really great. I mean, I really enjoy discussions where we debate all angles of potential things that we could do, and nothing is taken for granted. You explore the validity of completely different lines that you would have, than you automatically do. I think that's where you learn the most and you grow the most, and that was what that conversation felt like. So if you get bored with long discussions like that, and I know some people got bored with Daryl Jace's, not very few people. I know there were a couple of comments about how Daryl Jace's video, the super in-depth hand history review, was a little too long, but I think you're missing the point there. I think that's where you really get the growth. And
right.
You start to expand your mind and expand, your instinct grows from that as well. So I really love those type of discussions. Sorry if I bored you though. But,
yeah, it's interesting because I mentioned this when the guys were on the call too, but I had just written that article, and what you just said is right along the lines. And I actually pulled up this quote because I wrote the article in the car on the way to the beach this weekend, and I took a line from the article and tweeted it on the 31st, whatever day that was. And the line was, how will we progress as poker players if the only concepts we allow to influence our game are those that are easily digested?
Right.
And I think it like that completely sums up like the conversation that Mark, Jeff, you and I just basically had about taking, different angles at hands and not always the easy angle, because the ones that get you the most worked up are going to be the ones that are most against your natural way of playing.
Right. Well, and I think, this might have been more confusing of a hand history discussion than we've had previously. Because we're kind of a little bit moving around a lot. We're kind of moving around a lot. I don't know if we actually resolved any. Well, there were a couple places where we resolved we definitely would do this or definitely all do this, but I think we kind of just talked through options and a lot of different options in kind of rapid fire. So it might have been a little more confusing, but I think that's because we were really trying to open up all the options. So
right. Yeah, if nothing else, if you didn't learn anything about how to play that exact hand in that exact scenario, then maybe the least you got was an idea of how to look at hand discussions or hand history analysis with other players. Yeah. Maybe you don't know how to play ace-king on that board. But
and there was something there that I think really showed the quality of Jeff's play is that he's got the rep of being the super aggressive player, and he is the super aggressive player, and he was the one who would have checked the flop on the ace-king, right? He was the one who would have not check folded, right? Or the ace-king, right? With a bunch of backdoors. So it shows you that, he's definitely a thinking player, someone who is not just pushing buttons. There's a lot of thought to his play.
Yeah, and I was especially on that ace-king hand, I was instantly ready to pretty much get to the turn, because I think what I said was, we all agree we should c-bet this flop, right? And I was ready to go on to the turn. Yeah. And then, and I think Mark agreed, obviously, and then Jeff was like, well, can't we ever check?
Yeah, I still think I c-bet there.
Ever check call?
I think I c-bet there, but I could see his line. I could see why that's why Mark thought the whole time I was agreeing with Jeff, because I was trying to examine what Jeff was saying there, right? But I actually agreed with Mark. I would have c-bet too. but Mark, we took it to the point where we were discussing it so in depth that actually, Mark thought I was checking there too. But that's good. That's why I think Jeff probably has the results he has, and once again I think the type of approach you have to take to poker analysis. So great conversation.
Yeah. if at the end of the day you decide you should c-bet there, that's awesome. But at least ask yourself the questions.
Exactly. Nothing is automatic. Even the automatic you should go back to and revisit once in a while.
Yep, exactly. So, cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about what is happening at TPE.
Yeah, we got a lot of good videos going right now. We have a bunch of new pros. So, in the past week, Justin Lucial Peachy, who is a bracelet winner, his latest video just debuted. And I think his first video was considered a little, I just think he had a lot of hands to play, but his second and third installments in the series are getting great reviews. And I've been watching them, and I think he's got great thought process too. Once again, common theme, right? Really great thought process. Bracelet winner, great video producer. So his series is up right now. We have a Jeff series coming out next week. We talked about that. We have another pro debuting, just working on rendering his videos and getting them out there. Chris Moon, Moves Like Darwin. You know Chris a little bit better than I do, I think, and he'll be out in a couple of weeks. But he's coming up. How do you know Chris? Did you meet him before?
Just kind of from talking to him back and forth about getting set up on TPE and getting his videos done and stuff. That was the first time I had met him. It turns out we're both from Michigan and have a little bit of a rivalry because he went to Michigan State and I went to Central Michigan. So we've talked a little bit, but I don't know him super well, but I do get the impression from my conversations with him so far that he's going to be a really good addition to the team.
I don't want to build him up too much because he doesn't have his, we haven't posted this video of his, but I think he's one of the sharpest guys I've ever met. He just seems like super put together, really motivated, really he had really great ideas for his first video, so I'm excited to see them come together. He's doing sort of the thing where he kind of goes through a couple of bullet points and slides before he gets into the video. So it's one of those videos where it's not just, I'll talk about this as it comes up. He's thought about the concepts he's going to cover, and he goes a little bit into theoretical before he goes into the concept. So I'm excited about his videos, and should be coming up soon.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great addition to the team, so should be a lot of fun.
Yep. So Big Dog's running right now. So
always good to have a good Big Dog live sweat running.
Yep. And Ben Warrington's videos just finished. A bunch of 9s once again for Ben. He had some audio problems, and he still has between 9.4 and 9.8 ratings on these videos. So people love Ben. His videos are great. And then we just finished the aforementioned Daryl Jace expert level hand history review, which got a couple of 10 out of 10s, a 9 out of 9, a 9.2 out of 10. So a 9.9 out of 10 is what I meant. Some good videos running right now. And I will also mention in the forum, there's a pretty cool thread running. There's a sort of greatest movies of all time thread, which is love that kind of stuff in forums. Yep. So U-Stars, really good member, put this together and ranked the top 100 from IMDb or
he might have even done the top 200 if I remember right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I was in on the early discussions of it, and I've been voting, but I don't remember where he ended up on what he was actually going to do with the brackets and stuff.
So basically, there's
a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. But he's getting a ton of responses, and people are really chiming in on their favorite movies and stuff. So it's sort of like a bracket style tournament, movie 100 versus 200, and then they move on to the next match and the next match, and then there's another round, just like the NCAA. So that's fun. So all in all, good stuff. And the chat was popping on Sunday. I wasn't around, but I heard it was popping on Sunday.
Yeah, I was gone as well, but from what I heard, it was just and I guess maybe with the start of W Coop, and people still, obviously it's Sunday too, so a lot of the American guys are grinding, even not in W Coop. So sounds like it was really good. So make sure you check out the chat, particularly on Sundays when it's really happening. But it's good pretty much on weeknights as well. So.
Absolutely.
And I have to throw out a little shout out too. I don't know if you know for sure what his username is on TPE, but he's DavyT86 on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Final tabled the W Coop tonight.
Yeah, pretty sick, huh?
Yeah, I just saw that. Unfortunately, he finished 9th.
Yeah.
But still, final tabling a W Coop is pretty awesome, and $14.8 thousand doesn't suck either. So
no joke to final table a W Coop event.
Yeah. So obviously, shout out to him. Hopefully he's listening, and congratulations. And it's early in the W Coop yet, so go ahead and turn that mojo into a few more final tables for it.
Yep.
So
good luck, guys.
Cool.
Good luck in W Coops.
Yep, and make sure if you are making sweats that you put those in the sweat thread in the forum, or just when you tweet, make sure you use that hashtag TPEdge tag so that we know where you're at, because us and our members will find you and cheer you on. So cool. All right, well, that'll wrap it up for this episode of the TPE podcast. Thanks again to Jeff and Mark, and thanks to everybody for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right, later, guys. See you at the Borgata if you're coming.
In Texas, please. Fold them, let them hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me. Lock in intuition, play the cards with babes to start. And after she's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on her heart. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Can't read mine, no, she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Can't read mine, no, she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Poker face, poker face. Poker face, poker face. I wanna roll with her, a hard pair we will be. While little gambling is fun when you're with me. I love it. Russian roulette is not the same without a gun. And baby, when it's love, it is not rough, it isn't fun. Oh, whoa.